Welcome back to Business Office Specialist. In today's video, we're going to be looking at Google Slides, the presentation software for the Google suite of apps. Now, since this is our first video in Google Slides, today we're just going to look at some of the features to create your first basic slide deck to provide visual aids for your next presentation. So let's begin with a blank Google slide. One of the first things that you do when you get a slide deck like this is to select a theme for your presentation. The theme handles all of your font styles, background colors, and slide templates for your presentation. So off to the right-hand side, when you open a brand new version of Google Slides, the Themes panel is open to you. And you can scroll through it and select a theme that best fits what you're working with. Now for today's video, we're going to be looking at creating a slide deck for a coffee shop. So oftentimes when we think about presentation software like Google Slides, we're thinking about standing up in front of a group of people and providing a presentation to them. And while that is oftentimes the use for these slides, there's a lot of other uses in the business world for a slide presentation like Google Slides. Many shops and stores can have TVs placed in their shops that display menus or advertisements or just information about their shops that automatically cycle through a set number of images. Those are often run in the background on a software like Google Slides. So today we're going to create a presentation for a coffee shop that shows some of the different products that they offer that they could have running in the background in their shop. So for ours, we just want a simple background, something dark that won't stand out too brightly. So we're going to choose just the simple dark background. Now for the first slide, we'd like to give it a title. We're going to call this North Star Coffee. And maybe we could put the business's slogan underneath their name. So in the subtitle section, let's write, "Wake up and smell the coffee." Just like that. Now, right now, this simple dark background is really nice. It's actually one of my favorites to use. Having a dark background with light text is a lot easier on the eyes than a light background with dark text. But the fonts that it comes with are very boring. So let's change up the fonts just a little bit. For the title, let's make this a Comic Sans. Comic Sans is a little friendlier, a little fun. And then for the slogan down at the bottom, let's create a more slanty text. Let's do caveat. That looks more exciting. Just a simple font style change can make such a difference in a presentation like this. All right, that looks pretty good for the title slide. Let's create a new slide. Whenever you're creating new slides to your deck, that's going to be in the upper left corner on your ribbon. It's a little plus button. And when you click the plus button, it's going to show you all of the different pre-built template styles for your slides. So we did a title slide right there. That's the default that will always open first. For this next one, let's just do a title and body. So I'm going to come over to the third one, title and body. This will give us a title line and a body of text. Now in this one, I want to give just a brief written introduction to the coffee shop. So I don't really need a title for this one, but it's going to add one automatically. Each of these text boxes, or placeholders as they're sometimes called with presentation software, are put in there automatically, but they can be moved around and deleted if you want to. All you have to do is select it by clicking on somewhere in the border of the box itself. You'll see that when I hover over just a border, my mouse changes to be a crosshair with 4 arrows in each direction. If I click on that, it's going to select the entire item for me. Then if I wanted to, while holding the mouse, I could drag it around someplace else on the page, or if I wanted to get rid of it altogether, I could simply select it and press my backspace or delete key, and it would delete it from my screen. So let's get rid of the title. I'm not going to use it, and I'm just going to take my other one and slide it up a little higher. Oop, it's off center. You can see how when I'm moving it around, you get that red line down the center. That's helping me know that my item is exactly centered with the slide, which is really important when you're trying to make something aesthetic. So I'm going to keep that centered on the slide. And I'm going to type a little bit of text into here, just to give people an introduction to my coffee shop. Okay, so now I've written out that small introductory paragraph. It's Really small though, and if this were sitting up on a screen in my coffee shop, people really would have a hard time reading it. So let's make the font bigger. I'm going to resize this to a size 28 font. So over here on the ribbon, I can click on the font sizes, and you can see that 28 isn't an option here. So I could just type it in if I wanted to, which is probably the easiest thing to do. And then if I press enter, it's going to save that update. I'd also like to center the text. We do a lot of centering in a presentation software like this. So we're going to come up to the three dots here if it's hidden, and my alignment button is right here, and I can center align that. Wonderful. Now, this is still a little boring. Maybe let's add a picture of our coffee shop. Now, I don't really have a coffee shop in this example, so I'm going to go out to the internet and choose an image. If you're wanting to choose an image from the internet to add to your slide, you can go to Insert, Image, and then search the web. So let's search the web for a coffee shop image. Now, you don't have to grab the exact same one that I do. I'm going to grab this one, though. I like the way it looks, and it's really long, and I don't have a lot of vertical space to put it in, so having a really horizontal picture is going to be great. And you can see already that this is way too big. It's taking up the whole image, the whole slide. So we can resize our images just like we did with Google Docs by grabbing the little squares in the corners, clicking and dragging to move that down a little smaller. Now, what if I wanted more of the image to be prominent? I could possibly do what's called a crop on this. Cropping is where you cut pieces of the image off that you don't want. So I'd like to make this a little longer as an image. So with the image selected, I can come up to the menu and press this icon on the ribbon. This is the crop image icon, and that would allow me to start cropping the image. You'll know you're cropping because you'll see these black borders around the edge of the image. Another way to shortcut into the crop is once you have the image selected, if you double click on the image quickly, it will go into crop mode as well. Once you are in crop mode, anytime you drag one of these black icons around the edges of your image, it will cut out and hide anything from that image. So maybe I don't want to really get rid of the lights. I like the way they look. I'm just going to trim a little bit off the bottom and a little bit off the top. And then if I click the crop image icon again, that will go away, and I can go back to resizing the image. And now I've just made that image just a little bigger to fit inside that space I have. Wonderful. Okay, so that is our second slide. Now we're going to do our third slide, which is really going to introduce the types of products we offer. And for the first one, I'm just going to talk about the baked goods to start out with. So let's create a new slide. And this time we're going to do a title with 2 columns. And like I said, I want to start out by showcasing some of the baked goods, because when we go to a coffee shop, we're often there to buy, well, coffee. That's why you go to a coffee shop. But there's other things that coffee shops sell, and I want to advertise that and help people know so that when they're walking up to the counter to get their coffee, they can think, oh, wow, these baked goods sound good. I want one of those too. So I'm going to showcase baked goods. And then in this left column, I want to create just a bullet list with simple items. When you're doing a presentation, whether it's just shown on a screen as people are walking by, or whether it's part of your presentation, you don't want to have a lot of text on the screen. People don't spend a ton of time reading these days. And if you have a bunch of information on the screen, you'll overwhelm your viewer, and they're not going to look at it. So we want to keep it short and sweet. Bullet lists are great for a presentation like this, in order to keep things organized and easy to read quickly. So in my ribbon at the top, I'm going to select my bullet list. The icon is the exact same as it was in Google Docs. And then I'm going to create my baked goods bullet list. We're going to feature just 5 different baked goods that our shop sells. All right, so I've got bagels, biscotti, donuts, cookies, and muffins. That's what we're going to showcase. And again, those are teeny tiny. No one would see those. So let's make them bigger. Now, if you wanted to, you could come up and click to make the exact font size. You could also use the shortcut keys. I use the shortcut keys all the time when I'm working in presentation software because I don't know exactly how big these are going to be. I just know they need to be big enough. So using the shortcut keys, Control Shift and the greater than sign, I can increase the font size until it looks just the way that I want it to. That looks about right. It takes up the majority of the space, fills it in nice. So let's go with a 34-point font. Now, over here in the right column, I'm actually not going to type text. I want to put an image there. So I'm just going to click the borders and delete that placeholder out so that I can replace it with an image. I'm going to go to Insert, Image, and search the web again. Let's do donuts for this one. I like this image right here. So I'm going to select that one. Again, you don't have to select the exact same one that I do, but just have an image of a donut out there. Now, with this black background, the image doesn't look too bad all by itself, but there is one small trick that I do often with my images just to give them a little depth, make them pop just a little and stand out. If you click on your image and go to the Format menu up at the top, there is a Format Options panel that we can open that will show you all the different options for formatting that image. The one that I like to use is called a drop shadow. A drop shadow just adds a dark border around part of the image that gives it the look of being lifted slightly off of the page. Gives it kind of a 3D look. So it's kind of hard to tell with the dark background behind it. Let me make it light for just a second so that you can see. You see kind of that shading along the lower and right side of the image. It just creates this illusion that the image is lifted off of the screen ever so slightly and gives it a nice pop that I think kind of makes that image stand out as its own item and not just blended into the rest of the slide. So I like using that a lot. I use it with almost all of my images on slides. All right, so that's just a brief introduction. It gives you an idea of some of the basics to creating a slide deck. We've looked at creating title slides today. We've looked at changing some of the fonts and styles. We've also looked at adding images and adding a drop shadow to those images and using bullet lists to improve the readability of our slides.
To learn more tools and features in the Google Suite family of apps, check out more of my videos on YouTube or visit torinorman.com.